Did it hit 100 today? I don't know either. It was hot. I'm not sure it hit 100 though. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So great that we are able to be together and to celebrate Shabbat. I'm looking over here at Eliana because we're going to start tonight with a version of a song that reminds us about how great it is to be together, which I think is one of Eliana's favorites. Is that true? It is your favorite version of Hine Matov? So we're going to join together. Eliana will help you with your part, right, kiddo? Yeah. Okay, we'll see how this goes. There's a little repeat after me section. There's some clapping. Let's bring some ruach to our Shabbat service. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is. How sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is. How sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Now, many of you know this wonderful girl over here is my daughter, the daughter of two rabbis. We've told her she doesn't have to go into the family business, but as you all just heard, I think her ruach, her enthusiasm, might one day make her someone who is standing up here. But again, if she wants to be a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor, an art teacher, we don't skateboard, so I don't know where it's from. But as we come together tonight for Shabbat, when I hear her sing these Hebrew songs, some of them which we taught her, some of them which Jacob's Camp taught her, of course, it really brings a smile to my face and brings a lot of joy to my Shabbat. What are some things that are bringing joy for all of you as we enter Shabbat tonight? School? How were your first few days of school as a teacher? I'll ask the student the same question over here. Good first few days? Yeah. What about you?
Second day of second grade.
Good?
Yes, and my grandparents are coming in 2 weeks.
Months. She's counting down the days to Rosh Hashanah because her grandparents are coming. I am not counting down the days to Rosh Hashanah. So we've got the teacher perspective, we've got the student perspective. Other things that are making us have some joy on this Shabbat?
I just got back from visiting my dad in Memphis, and I'm going next week to see my son in Colorado.
Nice to be with family. Anybody else? Yeah.
I am new to Baton Rouge, and I am now at my temple.
Wonderful. We got to meet during our Passover Seder, and you were not yet living here, but now you are. You've moved. Wonderful. So we will show a warm southern welcome, which I am learning how to do, I think, but we're very nice to welcome you back, and I am glad you were able to join us when you were visiting, and hopefully you're feeling settled in our 100-degree weather. Yeah.
I am not usually a sports fan, but I have been soaking in the Olympics. And in particular, I just love seeing the way these athletes come across countries to each other and congratulate each other and cheer each other on. And I wish the world would take a lesson from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I, too, have been watching a lot of Olympics. The thing I picked up on, maybe only like 5 minutes of it today, was the new sport that entered the Olympics. Break dancing, and
Breaking, correct. Yeah, break dancing is not what it's called in the Olympics. But as my husband and I watched 2 minutes of this breaking, of course, two rabbis sitting next to each other were trying to find the sermon in the fact that something that started in its values of having no rules is now on stage being judged by people really makes me think about how not everything needs to be a competition in life. But it was very cool to watch these athletes do all sorts of things on their heads and arms and all parts of their body. So many things bringing us joy. Do you have another one?
Right now.
Right now. I think that's a wonderful one to bring us some joy. So as we think about the joyous moments of this past week and the joy we are looking forward to, let us enter Shabbat. Everything that you need for services this evening will be on the screens. But if you'd like to follow along in a prayer book, you can find those in the seats you are sitting in. There's a shelf underneath them, and I invite you to find them there. Let us enter Shabbat by lighting our Shabbat candles, which can be found on page 121 and 120. I'm going to invite up Lori and Dale to join me so they can light our candles for us.
Source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. Our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'haladmer shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Thank you both very much. Thank you.
Absolutely, there's even Dove chocolate in there now for the more sophisticated palates, because the grown-ups who have been participating were questioning my very kid-friendly candy choices. So please, when you come back up to help at the end, I hope you take some candy. And if you want what I'm calling kid-friendly candy, that's the stuff I like, so you are more than welcome to take that as well. Let us continue reading together page 125. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished? Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Let us now turn to the words of Lecha Dodi, which allow us to welcome the Shabbat presence to our community. Pages 138 and 139. We sing together. When we get to that final verse, if you are comfortable doing so, I'll invite you to rise and to face the door, to metaphorically welcome Shabbat, just like you would greet someone coming to your house. We sing together. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai yalalai yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmianu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad ushmo echad. L'Shem tiferet ve'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai yalalai yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai yalalai yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha. Hi mekor habracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'maksheva techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai yalalai yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai yalalai yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi uri, 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 shir daberi, kevod Adonai, alaich nigla, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. If you are comfortable doing so, I invite you to rise to face the door as we greet Shabbat. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvesohola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Since we have just metaphorically greeted the Shabbat presence to our community, let us also take a moment to greet those around us. Wish someone a Shabbat Shalom, maybe someone you did not arrive with. Take a moment to say hello. Once you've had a moment to greet a few people, I invite you to head back to your seats. Let us continue this theme of welcoming as we welcome the ministering angels of Shabbat with the words of Shalom Aleichem, page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Boachem l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Barchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei Elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Each one of us comes to this space for a different reason. Many of us come potentially to find peace. Many of us come possibly to give ourselves a moment to hit the pause button and not think about all of the things we haven't accomplished on our to-do list. Many of us come for community and to be together. Whatever the reason is that we join together, the joy is that we get to bring holiness to our hearts, to our minds, to our community, and to each other. Page 145. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and throughout unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. The facing page. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrachir yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman karib ve'imeru. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olam me'olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imeru. As we turn the page to page 146 and we find our call to worship, I invite you to please rise. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Barechu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach. Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Hamevorach. Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. We read together page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Sivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. If you're comfortable doing so, I'm going to invite you to turn your head and look at what I'm looking at as the sun comes in and our beautiful stained glass shines into the foyer. And if you look very closely, the stained glass from the top is shining into the sanctuary as well. And I noticed that as we were reading this last prayer, thanking God for allowing the sun to go up and the sun to go down. And there really, truly is this majestic light that shines into our space. So as you get this beautiful view out here, I get this beautiful view. And I challenge you throughout services to look around the space, especially on a day like this when the sun is shining in, and find yourself getting lost in the colors that join us as we continue reading together, page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. As we turn the page and find the words of Shema declaring God one, I invite you to rise if you wish. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. As we continue chanting together, page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam livanecha, vidibarta bam, vishivtecha b'veitecha, uvleftecha v'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beineinecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzo beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem ekol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti atchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. We read responsively page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. On page 158, we sing together. Mi chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o sefele, mi chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Page 161, we read together. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 162. Let us sing together the words that remind us how important it is for us to continue celebrating Shabbat week after week. As my daughter dances in the curtains. That's the reason we're here, though, friends, right? We are here to make sure Judaism Lador Vador continues from generation to generation, whether it be a row full of our youngsters like we had last week singing, or just my daughter playing in the curtains. But that's the reason we do what we do, to make sure we can pass on the joy of Judaism from us to future generations. Let us think about all of the ways that we keep Shabbat as we sing together on page 162. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, B'nai Yisrael, oti leolam, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam, uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. I want you to think for a moment what the first word is that comes to mind when I say the word prayer. In a moment, we're going to enter our Amidah, our central prayers of our evening service. They are words that remind us of our ancestors, of our past. They are words that remind us about givurah, about the strength that God has. And they allow us to think about the idea of kadosh, of holiness. In Judaism, when we pray, there are actually two parts to all of our prayers. There is the keva, the set prayers, the Hebrew and the English that we sing and read and chant together. But there's also the kavanah, your personal intention that you bring to the moment and to the words you are saying or the words you are listening to. So as we enter our Amidah tonight, I invite you, if you would like, to maybe think about that word, that first word that came to mind for you when I said the word prayer, as we collectively join together in our Amidah. Page 164 and following, and I invite you to please rise. Adonai sifatai tivta ufiya gitehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo V'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Tavrav Le'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somich Noflim Verofei Cholim, Matir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidom Melech, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atalech hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom halelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh. I invite you to continue now with your own prayers, either the words you find in the prayer book until page 180, or the words you find in your own hearts this Shabbat. And I invite you to be seated whenever you wish. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Many of us right now on this beautifully sunny evening might be feeling that peace that we just prayed for, might be feeling that sense of shalom. But we know there are those who are having a little bit of trouble finding theirs, and possibly it's because they suffer illness, illness of body, illness of spirit, or illness of mind. So we turn our prayers now to those in need of healing. As a community, we think of Joy Lewis, Minna Bat Yentl, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Frida Tamaro Bat Liba Bela, Menucha Pesa Bat Cherny Umosha, Gretchen Haynes, Ruby Smolinski, Jennifer Casson, Storm Matthews, Judith Von Brentnell, Kaylee Barron, David Berman, Harvey Schwartzberg, Maxine Cohn, David Leek, Barbara Stockner, Janet Gerwich, Danielle Riker, Laura Swire, Susan Wasserman, Nevin Rose, Paula Samuels, Cindy DeMarco, Sheldon Rawson, James Stockner, Vicki Jenkins, Steve Ginsberg, Yitzhak Dov Ben Chana, Devorah Bat Yaakov Chaim Vabela, Paula Viano, Rachel Abadi, and Miriam Bensman. If there are others you are thinking of in need of healing, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so. For those names we heard aloud and those whom we hold in our hearts, we turn together to our Misha Baruch prayer of healing, which can be found on page 371, and we offer prayers for all in need of healing. Misha Baruch Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Two men, both seriously ill, occupied the same hospital room. One man was allowed to sit up in his bed for an hour each afternoon. His bed was next to the room's only window. The other man had to spend all his time flat on his back. the men talked for hours on end. They spoke of their families, their homes, their jobs, their involvement in military service, where they had been on vacation, and more. Every afternoon, when the man in the bed by the small window could sit up, he would pass the time by describing to his roommate all the things he could see outside the window. The man in the other bed began to live for those 1-hour periods where his world would be broadened and enlivened by all the activity and color of the world outside. The window overlooked a park with a lovely lake. Ducks and swans played on the water while children sailed their model boats. Young people walked arm in arm amongst flowers of every color, and a fine view of the city skyline could be seen in the distance. As the man by the window described all this in exquisite detail, the man on the other side of the room would close his eyes and imagine the picturesque scene. One warm afternoon, the man by the window described a parade passing by. Although the other man couldn't hear the band, he could see it through his friend's description. Days and weeks passed. One morning, the man by the window died peacefully in his sleep. As soon as it seemed appropriate, the other man asked the nurse if he could be moved to his friend's bed. The nurse was happy to make the switch, and after making sure he was comfortable, she left him alone. Slowly, painfully, he propped himself up on one elbow to take his first look at the real world outside. He strained to slowly turn to look out the window beside the bed. In front of him was a blank wall. The man asked the nurse what could have compelled his roommate to have described such wonderful things out a pretend window. The nurse responded that the man was blind and could not even see the wall. Sight, either fact or fictional, can be an empowering concept, but is not the only way to live life or to connect to something spiritually. Last week, we closed the book of Numbers, and this week we begin reading a new book of Torah, the book of Deuteronomy, which proposes a vision of God and spirituality that is in many respects radically different than those that have come before in our Torah. The previous books are about seeing. Tradition holds that those who crossed the Red Sea in the book of Exodus out of Egypt actually saw God with their own eyes. Rashi, a prominent biblical scholar, affirms that at the Red Sea, even a lowly maidservant saw more than the prophets of later generations would ever see. Likewise, at Sinai, God's presence was made visible in smoke and flame. In Deuteronomy, though, Moses retells Sinai as an auditory experience rather than a visual one. The Lord spoke to you out of the fire. You heard the sound of words, but perceived no shape, nothing but a voice. And of course, Deuteronomy's most quoted line, what am I talking about? Anybody know? We said it tonight during services. It's your Jeopardy question of the evening. Oh my goodness, if you know this, I'm going to feel so great. It is one of the prayers we said, one that you know, one that we sing at bedtime. We do sing Oseh Shalom at bedtime, but not that one. Anybody know which one I'm talking about? I think I heard it. Shema. So, of course, the Deuteronomy's most quoted line, the Shema, bids us to what? To hear, rather than to see. People even sometimes close their eyes or cover them with the palm of their hand while reciting the Shema in services. And we do this to eliminate every distraction and help us concentrate without seeing on the meaning of the words. This approach to God is less about vision and more about language. Our tradition, I think, does a lot for us by offering us two such distinct spiritual paths. What makes life meaningful? Sometimes it is a sense of wonder, the feeling of being there and seeing it. At other times, merely hearing the story suffices. I have been lucky enough to have a few special spiritual moments in my life where I was in a place and just seeing something helped me make a connection with God and with my Judaism. The first time I traveled to Israel, I was 16 years old on a nifty summer trip. The connection I felt to the land was uncontrollable. When I stepped off the boat at the port of Haifa, yes, I took a boat from Greece to Israel because we redid the Exodus journey. I can tell you more about it later. But that moment I stepped off the boat in Haifa, first time entering Israel, I couldn't help but to kiss the ground. I didn't quite understand why I instantly had this connection to a land where I had never been before. It was not until the 9th day of my trip that I began to understand my instantaneous connection to the land. We were in the Negev desert at the base of a hill. Everyone in my group held hands and walked up this hill slowly without speaking. I'm sure that was a challenge for our group leaders to get us to do a group of 16-year-olds. But we held hands together as one community without speaking. Once we reached the top of the hill, the other side was the most inspiring sight I had ever seen. It was a giant sand dune in the midst of the Negev desert. I had never seen anything like it before. The sand was softer than a cloud, and the feeling of the infinite grains of sand was mesmerizing. To be honest, I remember it as though it was yesterday. I never thought that something as simple as a massive pile of sand could be such a spiritually connecting moment in the life of teenage me. At other moments, it was not sight, but words which helped me make my spiritual connection. Working at a URJ summer camp like Jacob's Camp, but this one was Goldman Union Camp Institute in Zionsville, Indiana, during services, I have had moments where all I did was close my eyes and listen to the voices around me joining together in prayer. I did not need to see anything. I only needed to hear the words and the voices to make my connection to God in that moment. Whether you connect spiritually to something visual, as in the book of Exodus, or something auditory, as in the book of Deuteronomy that we begin this week, or possibly both at different moments in your lives, on this Shabbat, let us thank God for the many opportunities and means of connection that we have. May the windows in our lives be full of descriptive, meaningful, picturesque scenes, no matter if they are seen by our eyes or spoken by our mouths. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to turn to our concluding prayers. I invite you to open those prayer books up once again to page 586, where we find words of Aleinu. Eliana, you want to help me? Open the ark? Don't do it yet. We're on page 586, and I invite you to please rise. Let's go to the ark. We join together. Aleinu lishabech ladon hakol latekidu laliotze breshit shelo asanu kigoye haratzot velo samanu kamishpachot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem vigoralenu kechol hamonam va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodi
Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Notei Shamayim Ve'Yoser Haaretz U'Moshe Yekaro B'Shamayim Ima'al Ushkinatu Zo Begov He Meromim Hu Eloheinu Ein Od Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato Kakatuv B'Torato V'yadata Hayom V'Hashavota El Levavecha Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim B'Shamayim Mima'al Ve'al Haaretz Mitachad Ein Od. We read together page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melecho kol haaretz bayom hahu yehia Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. As our prayers draw to a close on this Shabbat evening, we turn our thoughts to our loved ones who are no more. Tonight we remember one taken from us recently, Terry Stern. We also think of all those who passed away during the past year: John Roheim, Barry Burton, Shirley Judge, Betty Simmons, Lee Kaplan, Joanne Bender, Leonard Knackman, Rowan Hausman, Maureen Corcoran, Lucy Silva, Larry Zachem, Richard Price Marcus, Eddie Goldman, Eleanor McKee, Faye Ruth, Joseph Schieber, Elaine Rose Kaplan, James Coker, Harry Saxey, Chuck Schwing, Carol Kane, Arlette Goldstein, and Mordechai Rosenstein. We also remember those who died at this season in years past and whose family members are observing the Yortzeit anniversary of death on this Shabbat. Eva Singerman Berenson, Jerry Suppos, Benjamin Cherry, Jacob Joseph Cohen, Morris Fishbein, Shirley Kiselstein Hutt, Myrna Feinberg Kahn, Bertha M. Klein, Teresa Lara, Rebecca Lolke, Betty Jo Mabry, Judy Phelps, Sarah Plonsker, Pearl Rayner, Eleanor Uden Saxey, Rosalie Sager, Aaron Selber Jr., Yolande St. Pierre, David Stone, Joseph Van Oz, and Nathan Zuckerman. If there are others you are remembering this Shabbat, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so.
For those names we heard aloud and those whom we hold in our hearts, let us together turn to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 598, and I invite you to rise if you wish. Yit gadol v'yit kadash shemei Rabba, ve'alma divrach hirote v'yamlich malchute, v'chayachon uvyomechon uvchaye dekol beit Yisrael, v'agala uvizman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehe shmei Rabba mevarach leolam olamei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe shlama Rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. O say shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May all their memories be for a blessing, as together we say, Amen. You may be seated as I invite up Stephen Winkler, representing our board, to welcome you and share some announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
And certainly it is my pleasure to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us here tonight for services. They continue tomorrow morning, 9:30 for Torah study, Minyan at 10, services at 10:30. After that, you're on your own. You'll probably go to Jay's Barbecue. You'll probably see a few of us there. Tomorrow night, there will be the Havdalah service on Zoom, hosted by the Saxe family at 6 p.m. Monday, join at 6 p.m. to commemorate Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month of Av. Join us as we commemorate the hardship from this past year and bring hope for the future. Next Friday, this will be an exciting place next Friday, August the 16th. It will be our music Shabbat with Michael and Joy Roth at the piano and at the guitar and at both, and who knows what else. Bring your instruments. We'll put it all together. That'll mess them up good if I bring a bunch of other folks. This is right before Joey goes off to college, so this is sort of his send-off, as I appreciate it. Wednesday, the 21st of August, we come together for dinner and a discussion of the congregational values and as the next steps in the naming journey. And for more details about these events and more, you can always go to the website, refer to the weekly announcement that you get on email, and with that, unless anybody has any further questions, Shabbat Shalom. Yes, Gus, did you have a, no? All right. I have to ask, our new lady who has just joined us from, where did you move from? Well, I moved from North Carolina. Why?
He means welcome.
Where in Carolina? Because everybody's going to ask, so you might as well go ahead and get it out, and then you have to say it one time. Chapel Hill? Okay. Well, I did 2 years in Durham myself, so.
There's only a 2 year stint. My brother was in Chapel Hill.
The term was only 2 years. The sentence was only 2 years. Well, welcome.
Sentence was only 2. I'll have to ask my brother if that's what he thinks about it since he lives there.
All right, Rabbi, take us away.
We will conclude all the wonderful job. Thank you, thank you. You have a good, were you an announcer in a previous life, maybe, right? Doesn't he have that great announcer voice? Like you could hear him being like, rounding third and coming home, right? I don't know, maybe it's just me. Every week. Let us close out our service with a little bit of singing before we sanctify our moment with Kiddush and Motzi. Adon Olam, page 625, and I hope you are as excited for this closing song as Eliana is. So find your inner 7.5-year-old and let us sing. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, V'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, V'chefsa kol, azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam. Ve'acharei kichlot hakol, levado yimloch nora Adon Olam. Ve'hu haya, ve'hu hoveh, ve'hu yeh b'tifara Adon Olam. Ve'hu echad, ve'ein sheni, lehamshilo lehachbira Adon Olam. Beli reshit, beli tachlit, velo ha'oz ve'ha'misra Adon Olam. Ve'hu eli, ve'chai go'ali, ve'tzorach evli be'et tzara Adon Olam. Ve'hu nisi, umanos li, menat kosi beyom ekra Adon Olam. Beyado, afkid ruchi, be'et tishan ve'ayira Adon Olam. Ve'im ruchi, gaviati, Adonai li velo ira Adon Olam. Adon Olam. Asher malach. B'terem kol. Yetzir nivra. Li'et nasa. V'chefsa kol. Azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam. Let us sanctify Shabbat with Kiddush and Motzi, which can be found on page 123. I'm going to invite Lori and Dale to join us up here once again. And there should be a Kiddush cup up here for you. Beautiful. I'm going to invite everyone to please rise as we join together. Can I hand you a... Do you mind holding?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'kafim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratav anu. B'Shabbat kodesho v'achavod ratzonim hilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikroi kodesh, zecher l'tzias mitzrayim, ki banu v'harta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, B'Shabbat kodshecha, v'yachava u'baratzon, hinatanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen.
It's the good stuff.
It's the good stuff. Will you uncover our hollow for us as well?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Please enjoy some challah. Shabbat Shalom. Want my water? Here, where's your Capri Sun? Okay, I'll get you a new one.